Hello and welcome to another Every Tuesday tutorial. In this week's tutorial, we're creating a digital sales tag directly in Procreate. So what you see on screen is exactly what we're going to be creating together. The color palette is free as always. Just tap on the link in the video description and you can download and install it. We'll be using several different brushes for this. I'll leave links to all of those right in the video description so you can have access to all of them. I'm going to start by creating a brand new canvas that's 1500 pixels by 1500 pixels at 300 dpi. I work in the display P3 color profile, but if you're on an older iPad and don't have access to that, then the default sRGB color profile is perfectly fine. Okay, I've got my canvas all ready to go, so let's first set a background color. So tap on your layers, tap on background color, and we're going to choose this third color right here. And the next thing we're going to do is draw our big tag. So we're going to need our dark color right here, the second one. I'm going to grab the mono white brush for this and reduce the size down to 3%. And we're going to turn on our drawing guide. So tap on the wrench up here, go to canvas and choose drawing guide. And you can leave it right at the default. We can work with that pretty easily. I'm going to start with a downstroke and then continue on, and I'm going to finish with an upstroke. So you'll see what that looks like. And you can do as many zigzags as you'd like. I usually go more than I think I need, and it ends up being exactly what I need. So when in doubt, draw a few more. So in order to draw my zigzag, I'm going to come from one point down to the next point, up to the next point, and I'm just going to, once I get way over here, I'm just going to hold my stylus and it's going to snap into a zigzag. So you'll see what I mean in just a second. So remember to go down first and then go up. And you just want to go in one continuous motion and don't stop until you run out of room. So right here, I'm just going to hold and it's going to snap into a zigzag and then I can release. And now when I continue on, make sure it connects to this line. So there we go. This actually might take a little bit of practice, but once you get it down, it's really easy. So now I'm going to hold and wait and then release. Let's see how much I've got. I'm going to go just a few more here. And we want to make sure we end on an upstroke. So I'm just going to add this one right up here and hold it so it's nice and straight. Now I've got a nice amount of zigzags and I'm going to move these into position where I need them. So let's see. I'm going to go like, there's my middle and it's pretty low on my canvas, but I do that on purpose because then I can always move it up a little bit. But if I need to move it down, then I'm going to end up with a gap right here that I'll have to fill in later. So I always make sure I give myself a little bit extra. So now I can just follow this line all the way up and just hold it. And now it's nice and straight. And I can do the same thing over here. So make sure you connect to your line and then drag it all the way up, hold it until it snaps, and then follow that guideline. And there is our tag. I can fill it, and this is super wide. I do not like how wide it is at all. So now, if we go to freeform, I hardly ever do this. I don't recommend distorting your images ever, but for this element, I'm okay with it because the only thing I'm going to be distorting is the zigzag down here, and I'm okay if it gets a little bit more intense. So I want this to be a skinnier tag, so I'm just going to push in on the side until I get the width that I want. And that looks pretty good. I can always raise this up higher off my canvas, so I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to decide how intense my zigzags are going to be. I think I can come down just a smidge. I think that looks good. All right, so that's what I'm going to continue on with. And as long as we still have our drawing guide, let's draw our dashed line up at the top so it kind of looks like stitching. That was my goal there. So let's label this one main tag. And I'm going to create a brand new layer right above it. And this one's going to be called stitching. And we're going to apply clipping mask right here because it's going to extend beyond the edges, but we want it locked into the tag itself. So tap on the layer thumbnail and choose clipping mask. And we're going to select the same color we used for our background color. So it's that light blue. And I'm going to switch to that free dashed brush. And however long you want each dash to be will be determined by the size of the brush. I'm going to keep mine at 8%. The way Procreate behaves, you have to keep it straight, nice and straight. You can't turn your canvas and use it. Otherwise, you're going to get lines that look like that instead of straight lines. So just make sure your canvas is nice and straight before you draw it. And you've got a guideline to make sure your stylus stays straight too. So I'm going to begin off of the tag and finish off of the tag. That way it continues straight through the tag. and then you just hold it until it snaps, and you can make it wider or skinnier too. You have that option when you wait for it to snap and if you draw it long enough. And now we can turn off our guide. So go to the wrench, toggle off drawing guide, and now we can move right along. The next thing I'm going to do is add in all the background details, those floral details. So I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'm going to drag it underneath the main tag layer, and this one's just going to be florals. I'm going to grab this lightest white color right here. I'm going to navigate back to my watercolor illustration brush set, choose the round liner brush, and the size of this is 8%. So you can really do any style of florals that you want right here. I'll walk you through how I draw these ones, but please feel free to draw any style of florals you'd like over here. So for these ones, I'm kind of doing a cross between a peony and a magnolia. So this one's, you know, it's your layout. You can do whatever you want. So this one's going to be a side view. So I'm going to have the petals that come up right here. So they're going to be skinnier, petals that come up over here, and then I'm going to show my background petals just like that. And you can draw some more that are kind of hanging off of it too on the sides if you want. And I also want to draw in, I'm going to move the position of that. I want it moved over here a little bit. So I'm also going to draw some branches up that bleed off of the canvas. And these ones will have some leaves on them, and then I could draw some buds that are just starting to open up, so I can just have the 3 there. I can draw a more substantial one right here. And I like playing around with going back behind the tag and then coming forward. So because I just have a line right here and it's not really doing anything, I can, let's erase this down and actually do something with it. I'm gonna put another flower here. I think this one's too big now, so I can make a selection around it and just reduce the size of it. Once you have all that drawn in, if it's a little too subtle, you can always increase it by just duplicating your layer. So slide it over to the left, choose duplicate, and if that is too strong after you do that, just bring it down 50%, and then it's 1.5 instead of a full 2. And there we go. So once you have your background floral elements, now all that's left is to add a little dimension to our tag. We're going to add texture, and we're also going to add some lettering. So we're going to add the lettering first and then complete the final details of our tag. So I'm going to come up to the top. I'm going to create a brand new layer, apply a clipping mask because we want our lettering masked into our tag, and we're going to use the same white color for this. I'm going to switch into my Font Lovers Procreate brush set. I'm going to grab my jittery ink brush and write out all of my lettering with my jittery ink. Okay, once you have your lettering on your tag, the next thing we're going to do is add a little bit of depth to our tag to make it look a little thicker than just this flat piece on top of extra artwork. So in order to do that, we're going to take our main tag, tap on the layer thumbnail, choose select, create a brand new layer underneath it. So I'm going to tap on my second florals layer, create that brand new layer, switch my color to the white, and now tap on the layer thumbnail and choose fill layer. So now I've got the same exact tag, only it's a different color right behind it. So I'm going to grab my selection and tap a couple of times to the right and a couple of times down. So now you can see I've got that subtle little piece of thickness along the edge, and it's really going to pop even more once we add our shadow. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did, only we're going to fill it with our darker color this time. So come to your layers, tap on your main tag, choose select, come down here, tap on the second florals layer, create a brand new layer, grab your darkest color, which is this one, this very first one, and tap on the layer thumbnail and choose fill layer. So I can label this one shadow. So select it, down here choose warp. We're going to pull this bottom right corner out. We're going to pull this bottom left corner out, and then the top right one, we're going to push that in. Same thing with the top left. Because we don't want any shadow up here, we get a better effect when the shadow is right down here. So once you have that, we're going to apply a Gaussian blur to it. So tap on your magic wand, choose Gaussian blur, and we're going to make this about 5%. Change the blend mode to multiply and reduce the layer's opacity down to about 50%. Let's zoom out and see how that looks. I'm going to tap this down just a little bit, so switch this over to uniform, and then we can just tap this down, and I like that effect. I'm going to reduce the opacity a little bit more. I'm going to come down to 40%. The last thing I'm going to do is apply a paper texture to the top of our tag. That way it looks like real paper. So come to your main tag. I need the stitching layer to actually be on top of everything when I do this, because the stitching will be on top of the paper. It's not part of the paper texture, so I don't want the paper texture to affect the stitching, but I want the paper texture to affect the lettering. So I need to drag my lettering underneath my stitching layer. So just drag it like that, and then we can create a brand new layer right above the lettering layer. You want to change your color to black, so double tap where the black is. Come to your brushes. We're going to go into the watercolor illustration brush set, and down here I'm going to choose the medium tooth paper texture. Make sure the size is up at max, zoom out a little bit, and you should see that paper texture right there, and it automatically took on a clipping mask. So we're all set, and you can also see how it's affecting the lettering itself. That paper texture goes straight through it, which is the effect that I want right here. So that's how to create a digital sales tag entirely in Procreate. Once again, links to everything mentioned in this tutorial are right in the video description, including all the brushes we used and the free color palette. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you can be notified of new tutorials just like this one in the future. For more Procreate tutorials and freebies, head on over to my site, every-tuesday.com. You can also find me over on Instagram. My handle is everytuesday. If you try this out and post it there, I would love it if you tag me. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.